You think you're doing fine. You provide for them. You show up. You ask about their day, even when they don't answer. You've given them more than you ever had. You work hard, you make sacrifices, and at the end of it all, you genuinely believe that whatever you're doing, at the very minimum, you are not hurting them. But here is what most people don't realize. Psychological damage rarely comes from cruelty. It almost never comes from people who don't care. The deepest, most lasting wounds in a generation come from completely ordinary moments, from phrases that sounded reasonable, from habits that felt normal, from interactions that you didn't think twice about because nobody ever told you to. Science has now confirmed something that Gen Z has been trying to articulate for years, mostly in therapy, mostly in language. Older generations find dramatic or excessive the everyday, mundane, unremarkable things you do in your home, your office, your car on the way to school are actively shaping the architecture of their nervous system, sometimes in ways that take years to untangle. This is not an attack on you. This is a translation. Here are 6 everyday things that psychologically hurt Generation Z that you almost certainly believe are completely normal, because most of them were taught to you as virtues. Thing 1, telling them they are too sensitive. It happens fast. They react to something, maybe a tone of voice, a comment at the dinner table, a word chosen carelessly in a moment of stress. And before they can finish processing what just happened, you have already labeled it. You're overreacting. You're too sensitive. You need to toughen up. You mean it kindly. You are trying to prepare them for a hard world. That is the truth, and it matters. And it does not change what the research tells us happens inside their brain when they hear it. The field of interpersonal neurobiology, developed by psychiatrist Dr. Daniel Siegel, established that emotional invalidation, specifically being told that your emotional response is wrong or disproportionate, does not teach resilience. It teaches disconnection. When a young person's emotional signal is consistently met with dismissal, the brain does not learn to regulate that emotion better. It learns to hide it. It learns that the internal alarm system cannot be trusted, and an alarm system you stop trusting does not get quieter. It gets louder in private. What their nervous system is saying in that moment is not "I am weak." It is saying, "Something in my environment just shifted and I am trying to process it." When you tell them they are too sensitive, you are not teaching them emotional regulation. You are teaching them that their inner world is a problem to be managed rather than a signal worth listening to. The result, documented across multiple longitudinal studies in developmental psychology, is a generation that becomes extraordinarily skilled at suppressing visible emotion while the internal physiological stress response continues to run, unaddressed underneath the surface. That is not toughness. That is a nervous system in silent crisis. Thing 2, the public correction. You correct them in front of others, in front of siblings, in front of colleagues, in front of friends. Maybe it's a mistake at the dinner table. Maybe it's a performance review delivered in an open office. Maybe it's a comment made in passing that you forget the moment you say it. You don't think it's a big deal. You were corrected publicly and you survived it. You turned out fine. Here is what most people don't realize about how the social brain processes public shame. The anterior cingulate cortex, the region of the brain that processes physical pain, activates with identical intensity when a person experiences social rejection or public humiliation. This is not metaphor. Neuroscientist Naomi Eisenberger confirmed through brain imaging research that social pain and physical pain are, from the brain's perspective, functionally the same experience. The brain does not distinguish between a broken bone and being corrected in front of your peers. The threat response is equivalent. Generation Z, who grew up watching social humiliation play out at scale and at speed online, has a threat detection system that is particularly calibrated to public shame. Their amygdala has been trained on a world where being called out in front of others can go viral within hours. The classroom and the internet exist on the same social plane for them in a way they simply did not for you. When you correct them publicly, you are not just addressing a mistake, you are activating the same neural circuit as physical pain, and you are teaching them that the space between you is not safe enough for imperfection. That is the lesson they carry out of that room. Thing 3. The comparison. When I was your age, said with the confidence of someone handing over a gift, "You survived worse. I had nothing and I made something of it." Your grandfather worked 3 jobs and never complained once. These words are meant to motivate. They are meant to provide perspective. They are meant to communicate a kind of love that says, "I believe you are capable of more than this." Science has now confirmed what happens on the receiving end of that sentence. Developmental psychologist Dr. Sonia Luther's research on high-achieving and high-pressure environments found that chronic comparison to an idealized standard, particularly a parental or ancestral one, does not produce motivation. It produces chronic shame. Shame is not the same as guilt. Guilt says, "I did something bad." Shame says, "I am something bad." And shame, unlike guilt, has no constructive behavioral output. It does not drive improvement. It drives avoidance, withdrawal, and the quiet internal conclusion that no matter what they do, they will always be measuring themselves against a version of hardship they can never fully claim. What their nervous system is saying when they hear the comparison is not, "You're right, I should try harder." It is saying, "I am already failing the most fundamental test, which is being as strong as the people who came before me." That is an impossible race. And running an impossible race does not build character, it builds exhaustion. Thing 4. Giving advice. When they need to be heard, they come to you with something, a problem, a fear, a frustration. And within 30 seconds, you are already in solution mode. You are listing options. You are telling them what you would do. You are explaining that it isn't actually that complicated if they just approach it this way. You finish the conversation feeling helpful. They walk away feeling more alone than before they came in. Here is what most people don't realize about what happens neurologically when a person is given advice before they feel heard. The brain cannot access the prefrontal cortex, the seat of rational problem solving, while it is in a state of emotional activation. The stress hormones in the system physically block access to higher order thinking. Before someone can receive your advice and actually use it, they need to first feel that their emotional experience has been acknowledged. This is not weakness or neediness. This is basic neurological sequencing. When you skip the acknowledgement and go directly to the solution, you are offering the right thing at the wrong stage of the brain's processing cycle. The advice lands in a system that isn't ready for it, and the person in front of you learns that coming to you means being fixed rather than being understood. Slowly, they stop coming at all, and you wonder later why they never talk to you. Thing 5. Treating mental health language as excuses. They tell you they are anxious. They tell you they are burned out. They use words like triggered or trauma or overwhelmed, and you feel something tighten in you. Because those words sound, to your ear, like avoidance dressed up in clinical language. Like a generation unwilling to push through discomfort because they've been given a vocabulary that makes retreat sound like medicine. Here is what most people don't realize. The language is not the problem. The language is the first tool they have ever been given to accurately describe what is happening in their body. The American Psychological Association has documented that Gen Z is the most clinically stressed generation ever formally measured. Anxiety disorders among young people have risen by over 50% since 2010. The neurobiology is real. The cortisol is measurable. The hippocampal shrinkage from chronic adolescent stress is visible on imaging. These are not attitudes. These are physiological states with documented biological signatures. When you tell them that anxiety is an excuse, you are not helping them push through. you are cutting the wire on the only alarm system they have learned to name. Their nervous system is saying, "I am at capacity." You are telling them that capacity is not a real thing, and so they stop telling you. And the stress continues, unnamed, inside a body that is trying to survive in a world running faster than any previous generation ever had to run. Thing 6. Weaponizing your own sacrifice. You gave up things for them. That is real. You made choices, absorbed costs, swallowed your own dreams in some cases, because you believed in building something for the people who came after you. And sometimes, in moments of frustration or exhaustion, that sacrifice becomes a sentence. After everything I've done for you, do you have any idea what I gave up? You owe me at least this. This is the most painful one to say out loud. Because the sacrifice was real. The love behind it was real, and the damage it causes is equally real. Research in family systems psychology identifies what therapists call obligation-based attachment, where love is experienced not as a safe, unconditional bond, but as a debt that must be continuously serviced. When a child grows up understanding that the love in the room has a price attached to it, their nervous system cannot fully relax into that relationship. Every act of affection becomes a potential transaction. Every moment of warmth carries a small shadow of, "What will this cost me later?" What their nervous system is saying when they hear about your sacrifice is not ingratitude, it is fear. Fear that they are perpetually behind on a debt they never agreed to carry. That is not the relationship you intended to build. But it is the one those words construct, one sentence at a time. Here is the hardest truth of all of this. None of these 6 things came from a bad place. Every single one of them was inherited. Passed down from someone who learned them, from someone who learned them, from someone who had no language at all for any of what we have been talking about. The chain of transmission is long, and it ran through you before it could run through them. But the chain can stop. Not through guilt, not through grand gestures or apologies that try to undo what cannot be undone. It stops through one small shift in a single ordinary moment. The moment you choose to stay in the room with their emotion instead of solving it away. The moment you correct in private. The moment you let their nervous system lead and your advice follow. They are not asking you to be perfect. They never were. They are asking you to see them fully without the overlay of who you needed them to be. That is the only thing that has ever healed anything in the history of human connection.